in the Valley, you have something called a pivot, where you decide that you want to change your business model. And in China, people pivot, 5, 6, 7 times before they get it right. Well, this guy decided to do a pivot, but he didn't want to keep the same shareholder structure and the new company as the previous company. So we threatened him and carried out a lot of threats, and eventually he saw the light. But it was a very painful 4 months of threatening him and yelling at him and getting him to, we eventually, the good thing about him is he's a citizen of North America, U.S. citizen, so we could actually find him and sue him. But it was a good learning experience. It was a really rough intro, first 4 months in the VC world, getting a CEO to not rip us off blind.
Sure.
One that was the most disappointing was actually a Chinese sea turtle returnee in the semiconductor business, and it was making chips, mixed signal analog and digital chips for the cell phone industry, and the company missed. That business is like the graphics chips. If you miss a cycle, you're dead, right? Because that industry just keeps on moving it. So they missed a cycle, and so the company didn't do very well. And for obvious reasons, I can't name the company, but he just decided to put his head in the ground as the company was going south, and in fact came back to the U.S. and just sort of forgot about the company in China. And when you shut down a company here, we know how to do that, under U.S. law. Shutting down a company in China is very different. And the workers basically started posting things on the internet and complaining to the government about, where's our salary, and we were promised this, and it was just a nightmare, a PR nightmare as well as just a nightmare in general to handle. And the laws that we have here about who's responsible, here we say we're board members, we're shareholders, we're equity holders, we're not debt holders, and there's ways to handle that. It's according to the laws here. In China, that doesn't exist. It's you have to do the right thing, and you have to treat your workers well, of course. And as you know, in China, workers have a lot of power, and they demonstrate in the streets that they don't get paid, and they can cause a lot of trouble. So that was our nightmare. And so from that, we have a book now on how to close down companies and what to do, and not depending on the management team to do the right thing. So that's a lesson learned. It was very not fun.
Mm.
The failure was a coupon company in Hangzhou, and this was 2001, 2002. Not only was it after the bubble, but this is a classic story of being too early in the game. As you know, coupons are hot in China now, just like Groupon is in the US. We were just too early. I mean, we had to sell the idea of a coupon to these merchants. And we had both mobile and a offline product. I think the toughest part was, when we only ended up only investing $3 million, and we parted ways at the end. But it's very difficult because in China, I think the CEO is God, and in particular in Asian cultures, this is much more so than in the Valley. And so there's always an argument of opportunity cost versus the ego. When they kind of hit a wall, whether they should stop, take the sunk cost, go do something else, or either let their egos say, no, I got to keep doing this, and they won't leave. And we had a series of conversations with the entrepreneur. She's now the top real estate agent in Shanghai or something. But it was a wonderful discussion to have because those are the tough discussions. But we were way too early.
Sadly, the best lawyering in the world won't cure crappy deals. So. We've in the course of doing 300 or so deals, we've come across a few crappy deals. There's one that comes to mind that was actually a competitor of Joe's in the social networking space. They raised about $10 million, including a fair amount of money from one of the Sand Hill giants here. But sometimes you have entrepreneurs that their end game isn't about building a lasting company. Their end game may be just making enough or swindling enough to have a comfortable life, and that happens. I think in that particular situation, there were allegations that they falsified internet traffic, they did a lot of different things. I think that's probably a story that it's still in litigation, but you know, sometimes it is about just understanding the entrepreneurs that you're working with and you're investing in. You know, people have different end games, and $10 million may not seem like a lot to certain entrepreneurs, but you know, coming from China, well, $10 million is a lot of money anyhow, but you know, sometimes entrepreneurs feel like that's sufficient, and that will be enough to sustain them indefinitely, rather than building the multi-billion-dollar company.